Okay, welcome to another session of Six-Handed No Limit. Been on the table for about 15 minutes, and it's kind of a bit of a loose table, to be honest. Already picked up some nice pots. Going to check this one down because I'm not sure whether there's enough flush draw, which he was. So we've already picked up some nice pots, but generally speaking, the table's quite nice for me because I've got a loose player sitting, sitting here, and generally speaking, the player around the table just is generally playing a wide range of hands and continuation betting, over betting, and pretty poor play generally. I'm going to bet at this, obviously, because he's not betted it, but I'm going to make a small bet to try and represent the fact that I want him to call, so that I can make some value from the hand, and he folds it. But if I'd posted a larger bet there, he might have saw it as me trying to steal the pot and representing hand I didn't have, which is why I've placed a small bet just to look like a trapping bet. I've got Ace Jack in the small blind, which looks like it's probably a playable hand on this table at the moment, with the kind of range of hands that are being raised. But again, it's not a particularly strong hand. I can play it with caution. Obviously, I've got 2 overcards on the flop. I'd like to see some more cards, so I'm going to be the first to bet at the pot, and I'm going to kind of block and bet in to try and control the betting pattern. And obviously, you have a chance of the player folding when you do. If you're out of position and you do use those blocking bets, you have a chance of the player folding. And also, if he simply calls your bet, your smallish bet, then you have an opportunity to improve, obviously, on the turn, which is good strategy. I'm not going to bother raising up and stealing the blinds with 8 and 5. I'd much rather do it with something that looks a little bit more attractive. This is the kind of hand that I would be prepared to steal the blinds with. Obviously I've done that. Sorry, I was just taking a text. Obviously, this is on hand for me now, so I'm gonna bet at it because I've still got what is called all in now. So I think I'm probably it could be going all in with anything here, really. So I'm probably gonna call it because I've got opportunities, lots of outs. So I'll call it. Going back to the general play around the table, I'm on this kind of table where the betting is quite loose, then the kind of tactics I'm going to be using are things like making sure that I have good position. Where I don't have position, make sure I'm playing cards where I'm going to know where I am on the flop. To try and stop aggressive continuation betting and folding me out of the pot, I'm going to try and place blocking bets where I think my hand has an opportunity to improve. If I completely miss the flop, then I might just check it and just exit the hand. But I'm not going to play things like Queen 2 suited, obviously for obvious reasons, because I don't want to be playing anything with a weak kicker. Because even with something like Queen 10, this guy would be firing right at me. So careful hand selection, carefully watching which opponents are doing what and what kind of range of cards they're playing, and hopefully then we should continue to clean up the table. Most of the videos I tend to talk about pre-flop play, so I'm going to try and talk about my thinking on the flop now, not just about the choice of hands pre-flop. So hopefully the choice of hands pre-flop is pretty standard for you, because there's lots of videos I've got on my site, mypokercoach.co.uk, www.mypokercoach.co.uk. I mean, there's an positive EV hands chart on there, and selecting the right cards from the right position is probably one of the most simple things to do in poker. And so there's obviously lots of materials on card selection. Post flop play is a little bit more tricky. We've got to think about the number of outs. We've got to think about whether the card that we're looking for is going to improve our opponent's hand. We're trying to work out whether they're drawing. Obviously, we wear things like flush draws, and we're watching for the suitedness of the cards on the flop. This is raised up with a sort of limp raise, and potentially to steal the blind. So I'm gonna re-raise this hand. Much prefer if it was suited, but I'm gonna re-raise it and see what happens. If I get a call, then I'll need a good flop to continue, really. But I'm suspecting it was just a steal. Well, obviously I've picked up a drawing hand, which isn't great. So because I'm out of position, this is one of the occasions when I will try and do a blocking bet, because I don't want to check and then he fires 9 at me. So I'd much rather try and control the size of betting now. And if I do catch a king on the turn, then obviously it's going to be much more attractive to me. I think it's probably an idea for me to check now, because if I had caught a flush draw, then I might well check the hand down to represent weakness. So it's not necessarily he's going to fire at this. I mean, he may well fire at this, but he might not, because he might be wary that I've caught a flush, which he was. Now, whether I'm ahead or whether I'm behind now, I think probably the safest thing to do now is to represent that I did hit the flush, and post a bet that kind of would be a value bet for a flush, and may work and it may not, but it would seem to fit in with the story of me betting and then checking and then betting on the river. He might well think it's a flush draw, and he's thinking about that, so I'll put the question in his mind. And we'll see whether he's figured it out. And he didn't, so obviously that we brought the pot down. So I think pretty good example of how we can turn flops to our advantage even when we've actually completely missed. I think he had an ace, but I think he was worried about, he had an ace or a 10, I think he had something. He was worried about me catching a flush draw. I checked the turn, which I may well have done if I'd have caught the flush, because I wouldn't want to necessarily fold him out at that point. Then I bet quite strongly on the river, but not too strongly. I kind of bet for value, a little bit more than half size pot, 65% of the pot, which is the kind of bet I would make. And the story held up, and he folded the better hand. Without a question, he folded the better hand. This hand I got involved with really cheaply, and I'm not sure whether I've got the best hand, but I'm going to bet it now because I'm ace high at least, and I'm going to bring that one down as well. So when you are on a table with weaker players, you can control. You can control the pots, you can control the betting patterns. I've only sat down at the table now for around about 25-30 minutes, and I've already more than doubled my stake. I mean, it's not always as easy to find these kind of tables where you can make a profit, but when you do find a table like this, then you can have quite a good session. It's not bad information for me then, to look at what was going on around the table, then to look at how these guys were raising ace queen and ace king. So when hands do go down to showdown, you get to see the whole cards. Then you need to pay attention to what happened. You can look in your hand history and bring up the history of the hand if you missed it, and go back and have a look and see exactly what happened, who raised, and you can go back and replay the hand from the start, and have a look at what happened, and it's a good idea to do that, so you can kind of see how ace king was played and how it was raised, and so for future reference, really, because people tend to repeat patterns with cards. I've got a pair here, so it's marginal as to whether it's a limp in or whether I have a look at the flop. I'm thinking that we might start to develop a multi-way pot now, because I'm feeling that these guys, or certainly one or two of these guys, may well call. The problem is if one of them was slow playing a hand and then decides to come right over the top. But I'm being priced in now with a kind of family pot to have a look and see whether I can catch a 2. I don't think there's any point in me placing a bet early on here, because I think that don't think I stand much chance of placing a blocking bet here, really, because there's so many people in the pot. If someone's caught a flush draw or someone's got jack high, they're going to come over the top of me. So I'd much rather check it down and see what happens. Now there are so many draws out there, both flush and straight draws, that I'm pretty sure that my hand is not going to stand up at the end of this. So obviously that's a crazy bet there, and I wish I was in a position to call it, but I'm not going to call it. I mean, I don't think that bet represents the strength of his hand at all. I think he'll probably be drawing, but he may well have a straight and a flush draw. So my odds are quite poor. So I'm going to fold it, and I mean, I hope he gets a call from here, so that we can go to showdown and have a look and see what cards he was playing. But I would have suggested it was a straight and flush draw. I'm not going to play ace-3 unsuited with an early position raiser. Marginal hand here that has really small positive EV, but I'll play it against this guy if he raises. I think he probably will. He normally does, so I'll call it and just have a look at the flop. See what the kind of texture of the flop is. If he doesn't bet at it, then I'm inclined to check it down. Obviously, I've got the potential to improve with this hand, but because I'm so unsure of his hand range, I'm going to call and see whether my hand can improve. It's not, and he's representing that he's perhaps got a king, or maybe he's got some sort of straight draw, but I'm going to exit the hand. I think it's probably safe to do. Not sure I really had the odds to call on the turn really anyway. It's probably a loose decision to do that. This is an interesting hand that I'm going to bring in, obviously for a reasonable raise from early position. I don't want too many callers. I only really want heads up. Hopefully, I'll get heads up with this guy. If he re-raises me, then I shall probably stick it all in, because knowing his hand range, then 9-9 is obviously a raising and a re-raising hand. If I get raised on the button here, then it's certainly a strong raising hand. The last time I strongly raised, he called, so he does seem as though he might be a bit of a calling machine, and yet again he's done it. I've got second pair, obviously, and I think that I need to bring this pot down and represent that I've got a strong overpair like Queen, or pocket kings or something. So I'm gonna represent that and try and bring the pot down now if I can. If he's got a jack, he may well call. who's got something like Jack 10, he may well call. If I do check the flop now, then he's going to come at me really strong. So I do need to continue at this pot, and if he has got a jack, then that's just unfortunate, and I'm going to have to consider just exiting the hand if I don't improve. Similarly, if I get a re-raise, then I'm not really in a very strong position, so I'm going to probably have to accept his story and just get out of the hand. The fact that he took some time to call that, and not necessarily for me a sign of weakness. He may well be slow playing the hand. I'm going to kind of place a value bet on there just to find out whether you know whether I have got the best hand. I'm hoping he was chasing a draw, a flush draw, but whatever he was doing, he missed. So he made a loose call, really, to my raise, and it ended up costing him a fair amount of his stack, a third of his stack. And that's probably a good example of how not to play poker. I mean, first of all, he made a loose call. Then he continued to try and fish whatever he was fishing for, whether it was a draw or whether it was a straight. He was continuing to fish it. I mean, it was possible that he might have had something like Ace King even, but he was continuing. Even though he'd missed on the flop, he'd missed on the turn, he was continuing to call my bets, which was weak play. A re-raise, in fact, would have folded me out of the hand, but by just calling, he just really he just wasted a third of his stack, and just really poor play. Obviously, hands like King 8 I'm not going to play. We're going to close the video down shortly because of the size of the file, but I think we've seen some quite interesting hands again, and hopefully you've picked up some useful tips about not only the pre-card selection, but we saw some nice showdown. Saw at least a couple of nice showdowns and how to play them and how to control the betting, so hopefully it was useful stuff. We're just going to go around to big blind and see out the session. We'll just go around one more time, and then we'll close the video down. Any questions that you have on my play, or if there's anything that you want to challenge me on, or you disagree with any of the strategy, then I'm quite open for discussions. Again, it's www.mypokercoach.co.uk, and you can there is a forum on there, and you can fire off questions and challenges to the way that I'm playing hands if you want to do that. or just contribute any of your stories or bad beats or anything, then I usually reply to those within 48 hours. So feel free to get involved on the forum. If you do want some coaching, then I have very limited availability to do that, only on a Sunday these days. Will I do coaching sessions, and I tend to coach only six-handed cash play, but if you're a beginner at SMG or tournament play, then obviously I can still coach at that level. But if you're more advanced at SMG and tournament play, then I'll certainly recommend a coach that can assist you with that kind of play. If you're interested in heads-up play, then I will be posting some heads-up videos on the site very shortly. It's a completely different strategy, obviously, and six-handed, and it's more aggressive, and the range of cards that you're playing is much more open, and it's completely different. It's about domination and to a certain degree, just making sure that you're ahead when you fire that all in, and some of it's inevitably is going to come down to the luck of the cards on the turn and on the river, but there's still a certain amount of skill involved in heads up. So I'll post some videos on that, and you can have a look at those and see if we get a few more hands to play before we get round to the big blind. I'm going to play this hand. It's the last hand I'm going to play, so I'm going to click the sit out button here, and we're going to sit out the next hand. But I'm going to play this just because it's a little bit creative, and if we do get a caller, hopefully this guy's going to call, and we can have a look and see what we can achieve on the flop. It's one of those hands we'll either catch or we completely miss, and he's folded anyway, so we brought the pot down. So hopefully that was useful, and I'll be posting this video, more videos online on mypokercoach.co.uk. Good luck with your poker.